It's time to talk sports, it's time for the show. When you hear this song on the radio, it's time to tune in, better act fast. Let me get that potograph. Potograph, Sports Talk Radio. Starting now.
Let's go. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 143 of Let Me Get That Potograph. My name, as always, is the DH, and joining me is my co-host, Scott. What's up, dude?
Oh, dude, welcome to Shit Show Central.
Jesus. You're not
Dude,
kidding.
this is like, today, I don't know what the hell is going on, but last week, we kind of ended things with like, hey, there's no scandals, there's no lawsuits.
Right.
We're not, somebody sue someone, so we got something to talk about.
If we waited an extra day to record, we would have had a million things.
I know, exactly. But coming up in a little while, we'll be talking about, it's not a lawsuit, but it is definitely some big news that came up yesterday on Monday. And, we'll be talking about that. But aside from allergy season and them cutting the grass for the first time this morning, I kind of want to just start off with shit show topic number one.
Yeah, well, hey, man, we got a jam-packed episode, so let's dive into it.
Yeah,
kind of a follow-up from last week.
This is a follow-up. Last week, we were all excited about baseball being back, and, we talked a lot about the hype with, the three prospects that made the opening day rosters, Julio Rodriguez, Bobby Whit, and Spencer Torkelson. Yeah. And I was all excited to see what was going to happen. And, oh, man, did we see some things happen this weekend.
I even mentioned it earlier. I thought at least one of them would struggle, but not all of them.
No. Now, I will say Bobby Whit did have a very nice defensive gem. Yeah, throwing out that the runner and extras the other day, but let's just start with Torkelson,
which is who I said would struggle.
Yeah, and struggle indeed he did. So he's played in 4 games. They gave him the day off yesterday. Surprise. Yeah, 10 at bats. He's got 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, and nothing. Yep. For hits.
Yep.
Julio Rodriguez, 4 games, 14 at bats. He's got 1 hit. It was a double. Right. He's got 1 walk and 7 strikeouts for a whopping batting average of 0.71. And moving on to Bobby Whit, who seems to be the bright spot here. Also played 4 games, 16 at bats, and he's got 2 hits, both of which were doubles. He's got 1 walk, 3 RBIs, and 4 strikeouts for a whopping 125 batting average.
Gotta love those.
Now, I didn't expect all of this. Now, I didn't expect any of that. I expected maybe 1 of the 3. I expected maybe, low 200s batting average, that kind of stuff. I did not expect the crazy number of strikeouts.
No, the strikeouts is what the strikeouts surprised me the most, especially with someone like Julio in particular. Torkelson, I thought was going to struggle, and I thought he was going to struggle for a while, but I think he's going to end up being great. I think all these guys are going to end up being great. But
the amount of money that's been spent on these guys, and I'm not talking about the teams and salaries, I'm talking about on cards.
Oh, yeah.
Is absolutely insane. Now, hopefully, this is just a blip and it's just some growing pains, whatever the case is.
We've seen it plenty of times. I mean, adjusting to that major league level is incredibly difficult, especially for some of these guys that, like we said with Julio, he had no high A, he had nothing along those lines. They shot him up to the top. A lot of these guys, it's going to take some adjusting. And I think, the pitching, let's be honest, pitching in baseball right now is nasty. It's dominant. And these new guys are coming up and facing some stuff that's pretty difficult. And
I'm wondering if there was some pressure from the front, from the Major League Baseball's office to bring these guys up because, if you remember back in the 90s, there was obviously the lockout then, and it completely devastated the game. And it took years took years to get back. It took, believe it or not, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa to get the interest back into baseball. So I'm wondering if, there was some pressure from the league office to say, hey, if you got any hot prospects that people are keeping an eye on, let's give you some incentive to bring these guys up because, we don't want to have to, take years to get the game back. Now, granted, this wasn't, there's no missed time. All the games are being played and, things like that. It wasn't the same as it was in the 90s. But anytime there's a strike or a lockout or, some sort of work stoppage, there is going to be a loss of interest at some level. So I'm wondering if that was what this is.
I guarantee you that had something to do with it. I mean, like you said, like Torkelson was probably because obviously injury, you needed to fill a position. Why not see what he can do? That one makes sense. I think Whit was one of those where they probably looked at their roster and said, he deserves a spot here. Let's try him out. Julio's the one that maybe, especially in Seattle, looking at Seattle and the whole Kellenic disaster the year before, I think Seattle may have literally shot up Julio just to try and get goodwill back with their own fans, let alone anything else. But I do think there were some probably outside influences, if you will, that wanted to get the focus off of the strike, you know what I mean? And the focus off of the possibility that we could have missed games and that we started the season late and that there was, no long spring training and all this stuff, anything that you can do to get the attention away from that, obviously, that's what Major League Baseball wants. And so I could easily see Major League Baseball doing something along those lines. But in Seattle's case, I think they did it more for the goodwill of their fans.
Yeah, no, and that makes a lot of sense.
The Kellenic situation really soured a lot of people. And that's a great way to make them forget about it, is to take their next highly hyped prospect, strap a rocket on him and shoot him to the moon.
No, exactly. Now, on the flip side of that, let's talk about Wander Franco for a second, because the dude's hitting 600 across 4 games. He's got 15 at-bats, 9 hits, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 2 strikeouts, and no walks, which is to be expected. He's not he's going to make contact with that ball.
Oh, yeah.
But he is continuing his little tear, on base percentage of .563, which is pretty solid. So he's continuing on. Now, here's the thing, and granted, you see a lot of guys this early in the season that are hitting high averages like that.
Right.
But he is, hitting 600, he is number 2 in batting average as of right now, because there's a guy hitting 692. And who the hell is Stephen Kwan? he does it. The dude. Okay, so I don't think anybody knows who this kid is, because he was drafted in the 5th round in 2017. There has been no Bowman. There has been no Bowman for Stephen Kwan, and
that's hard. It's hard to be a prospect and not get a Bowman.
It's hard to be, exactly. So where you got to be? The dude in 2021. Split time between AA and AAA, 51 games in AA, 26 in AAA. He hit, over 300. Mm-hmm. He's not a power hitter. He's not a home run guy. He's just one of those guys. But all of a sudden, you come out and you throw him in 4 games, and he literally came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody outside the Cleveland organization knows who this guy is, but 4 games, 13 at-bats. He's got 9 hits, 5 walks, 3 RBIs. He's got 2 doubles, a triple. He scored 6 times, and here's the real bright spot between all this: no strikeouts.
Yeah.
This kid, we talked about how oh man, top series 2 and Chrome is going to be amazing because of Torkelson and Julio and Whit. No,
he keeps it up.
No, this kid, I don't know if it's just a fluke or if he's the real deal. Because I
see it kind of a good comparison being in a Rosarena type situation, where he's going to be one of those guys that comes in and kind of shocks the product a little bit, but expecting him to keep those numbers up is absurd.
I agree. They'll come down.
But if he keeps up, to where, if he keeps up the ridiculously low strikeout percentages and things like that, that's gonna do big things. And so much focus is on rookies right now that adding another one into the mix is just gonna be huge.
Well, here's my theory on Quan.
Okay.
So all of the teams, they knew Torkelson was coming up. They knew Julio Rodriguez was coming up. They knew Bobby Whit was coming up. These guys are highly touted prospects. They have scouted these players. They've studied them. They know how to pitch to them. They know where their strengths are. They know where their weaknesses are. Quan came out of nowhere.
Right.
This may be a situation where they have little to no data on this kid, and they have no idea how to pitch to him. So now, you've got guys in every scouting department on every, on every team that's scrambling to find any footage from last year or from 2019, because there was no minors in 2020, but this kid, there's 193 at bats in AA last year, 103 at bats in AAA.
Yeah.
And you've got every scouting department in the leagues, trying to find footage from Akron and from Columbus to say, hey, let's look at this guy's, this kid's at bats. Let's take a look at this and see if we can figure him out. But it's a very small sample size.
Yeah.
That may be the whole, the whole thing as to why he's, hitting so well and why the other three are getting destroyed.
It very well could be. And I think the most interesting thing from all that is you got Whit, Julio, Wander Franco, Spencer Torkelson, and then who are we talking about?
We're talking about Stephen Quan.
Exactly.
And even worse, we're talking about a kid on the Cleveland Indians. Sorry, the Guardians. Don't even get started about that. Yeah, they're always going to be the Indians.
Yes.
But yeah, we're talking about a kid with Cleveland.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm speechless. I have no idea what to say about this kid because there's nothing to say because nobody knows anything about him.
Now I'm going to be interested to see if his obviously with no Bowman and everything, I'm assuming, I'm going to check here in a second, but I'm assuming they're doing some Tops Now cards for him because I'm sure he's had some big games. So he'll have a couple of Tops Now cards, and I'm assuming that they're scrambling as fast as they can to get him into any product they can. So I think this may be a comparable situation because, again, knowing he's not a power hitter, hits for average, I think this may be a comparable situation to Luis Ariz. There you go.
From the Twins, where now he did have a first Bowman auto, but nothing else. And then, all of a sudden 2019 update comes out and, the kid's hitting like 300. He's selling really well. And, it took a little bit of a hit, because of some injury time last year. And strangely enough, he did hit a home run a couple days ago. But, he's a guy who had very little. And the next thing you know, like, boom, he's a guy hitting 300 as a rookie, and he gets, winds up in update.
Yep. And Stephen Quan does actually have a card that ends today, Wednesday, when this episode drops. It ends Wednesday, but they do have a Stephen.
It's a Tops Now. A Tops Now for first player since 1901 to reach base 15 times in his first 4 games. So, which is completely insane if you think about it.
Yeah,
that's just crazy. I'm looking at the stats and I'm trying to figure out how he's reached base 15 times. So he's got 9 hits, 5 walks. That's 14. The only thing I can think of is that he reached on a fielder's choice.
Yeah,
where he didn't get credit for the hit because I don't see the hit by pitch stats. They may have hit him.
Right.
Have no idea what happened with that one, but. That's absolutely insane what this kid is doing.
No, absolutely. 24 years old in a recent game on Monday.
Dude, 24 is old for a prospect making his debut these days.
No, absolutely. This dude defies all logic of everything that you would be thinking about. But I think that, like you said, small sample size could take a little while for people to get a firm grasp on him. Unfortunately, it is the Guardians or the Indians or whatever you want to call them. So I think that, is going to have a little bit of effect on everything. But hey, there's nothing that the baseball hobby likes more than a rookie or a prospect that comes out of nowhere that nobody knows. And this is it. And I think he provides something else to watch in an already loaded and interesting season.
Yeah. And it's been a bright spot. The kid's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
But so I guess we can that kind of covers shit show number one.
That does it covers shit show number one here.
All right, what do you got for shit show number two?
Oh God, dude. I mean, this one really took me by surprise. So
did it really?
Yes. No, it did. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning here. And guys, we're talking about HGA. As Tyler, the owner and founder of HGA, announced that he is stepping down and completely away from the company. Now, when HGA was announced, I was reached out to by the HGA team, and they wanted to obviously do press for launching a grading company. I was very interested in the actual AI, and once I talked to some people and learned that it actually was, it was still technically software, but it was the type of stuff you needed where you're looking at shadowing. Like, they could sell the software to hospitals and it would make a ton of money instantly. They had a lot of great stuff going for them. And so I was interested. So I was like, sure, I'll do an interview. So we ended up doing the very first interview with Tyler that he had ever done on HGA and everything. When we were talking with, just everything that he had said, his vision on everything, where he wanted it to go, what his intentions were, and the statement he made yesterday and the follow-up statement that he made today that we'll both address completely are completely the total opposite of everything that he said when they launched. I mean, this was someone that said that he wants to, that he was in this for the long haul, that he wants to do this big time, that he really wants to change the game for the better, that he wants to help all of this stuff. And throughout the entire time, I didn't see any of that going on. I actually think that as he leaves, that there's been more damage done to the grading, as soon as HGA came out, 500 other copycat grading companies came out. Now you've got every company in the world that would even just review your cards now turning into grading companies. So, I mean, you could argue that it really watered down the slab world, so to speak, as well. And it's just, when I look at the interview, when I talked with him, when I see all the sincerity and everything and the passion that he seemed to have had, the dude 100% has lost his passion, which he kind of said in his thing. He has no desire to do this anymore. But no matter what he says, and look, I'm a single dad. I'm a single dad with full custody, and I know he's going through a divorce and has kids and everything, and I don't want to bring too much of his family into this, but I'm a single dad with full custody. I get it. I totally get this wanting to spend time with the kids part, but you've literally got the job and you've literally got the setup that's perfect to do that for the rest of your life. And so I don't really like that aspect of everything outside of you just want to retire. And that's what I'm looking at this as basically, look, I built something. I'm going to sell it off to a company that knows absolutely nothing about the card industry, and I'm going to take my loot and I'm going to retire. Now, he says he's still going to break and all that stuff, but you guys know how this is. Look, he didn't have a heavy footprint in the hobby before this, and he won't have a heavy footprint in it after. And it's disappointing to me.
Let's talk a minute about the company that, supposedly bought it. Armstrong International. Now, I did some research about Armstrong International, and as I'm trying to go back, because I lost my the spot where it was on the page, but they're a company that has nothing to do with cards. Their promise, according to their About Us page, is to deliver intelligent system solutions that improve utility performance, lower energy consumption, and reduce environmental emissions while providing an enjoyable experience.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yes, whoop-de-doo. They nothing to do with cards or anything like that. And they got a whole bunch of divisions. They work in a whole bunch of different industries, and they talk about, it's mainly energy. I did attempt to reach out to them this morning, try to get a comment or anything about that. I left a message for somebody. I have not heard back as of right now.
And see, that's one of the things I have a problem with, is because he says right in his statement, HGA is in great hands. We took on an investor around 7 months ago, and they've been amazing. We've grown at an incredible pace, blah, blah, blah. Well, of course you did. They dumped a ton of money into it. But leaving HGA in great hands? No, you're not. There were a ton of problems that you literally in your statement say there were so many problems that you couldn't handle having to deal with all of them, which that was the first problem. You should have had a team to be handling these problems and not started the whole, like, let's just DM me if you want to make a massive company. That's right. That's just absolutely absurd. And I mean, I understand what he's trying to do, but there's a different way to make yourself the face of the company and handle the problems without having to deal with that with Facebook DMs all the time. But that's just, whatever, that's here nor there. But to say that it's in good hands, are you kidding me? Like, he was putting out fires left and right and having to explain tons of things from theft to revamps to everything. And then you're the one person that's probably holding all this together, because Tyler is a great person. He's a very nice guy. I have nothing bad to say about him as a person. And I'm assuming he's probably the guy that was really holding this together when there were some massive growing pains and some massive problems, and you leave and you're going to tell everybody that it's in great hands with a company that has nothing to do with cards. I mean, come on, dude.
And, we have now, I mean, who knows? It's very possible that the ownership of this company has been collectors for years. I mean, we don't know. We don't know anything about them because we don't know anything about them. It's one of those, like, some of the comments I was reading last night, they're a very faith-based company, which there's nothing wrong with that. No. They seem to have a company chaplain on staff. Mm-hmm. So maybe that, they seem to thrive according to their statements and things like that. Their motto is do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
The company chaplain is also now the head grader, I've been told, but
well, we don't know about that. But maybe it's been a hobby of theirs for a long time. We don't know.
Well, what about this? Do you think this is them investing in a company, getting it in, realizing that when they put this money in, Tyler was ready to get out, as it seems he was ready to get out like a long time ago, that they saw a chance to grab a company in a burgeoning industry to ultimately sell it? I mean, do you see HGA getting sold? Do you see it getting bought out, the technology getting bought out, the company getting bought out? Or do you see these guys just trying to do what they can and it ultimately becoming the way of GMA and just dissolving and disappearing?
So I honestly don't know. It could be any number of things. Now, as far as the technology goes, I'm not entirely convinced that it's there. It's basically, all the promotional videos they've put out and things like that. It's basically them doing high resolution scans and somebody looking at it on a computer screen.
Yeah, there's a lot more to with that. The shadow depths and the shadow levels that they were able to create with the software and that they were able to do is something that, I mean, this type of software that we need to grade cards is something that is readily available in hospitals right now. The machines are just very expensive. And this technology is able to replicate to a very high extent and go even better when it comes to the shadowing and the imaging aspect of what current hospital technology can do. That is something that we talked about on the previous episode, was going into that technology. So there's a use for that tech outside of the card world. But I agree with you. I don't think it's there in the card world.
But here's the other question: is does Tyler own that, or does HGA own that technology?
Well,
or were they just licensing it?
At the time, they had it built in that it was theirs, from my understanding. Now, what happened with this entire move and everything, I don't know. But but at the same time, that's what you were told. Yeah, that's your IP.
And it may be true.
Yeah,
it may not be. We don't know. Yeah. And that's the thing. So if they truly own the technology, then there's a ton of value to the technology, and it's very possible that that's the reason that this Armstrong International company bought them. They didn't buy them because they're a grading company. They bought them because there's a technology there behind it that has value.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then it potentially, what's going to happen is I see HGA just going away because they don't care about the card grading aspect of things. What they care about is the the imaging technology and the ability to, sell it, sell that imaging technology to somebody. And you're right, there is an aspect outside of card grading that it can be extraordinarily useful to right now. You just have to adapt it, which really wouldn't take that much effort, to do. So what happens? I just don't know. I mean, I could see HGA being sold. I could see them going under as far as a company, and then just the technology.
Being I personally think the technology lives on. I don't see any company that's looking to buy up stuff seeing name value in HGA. I don't see them looking at it and saying, oh, yes, this name value is going to greatly enhance our public outlook of our portfolio. Like, I don't see any company saying that. And so that's where I see HGA, fading away slowly. And like you said, as this company probably did, considering that they are, like you said, they have their hands in a lot of different things. Yeah. I'm sure they see some type of use for the tech, definitely not the grading. And I'm sure in their opinion, hey, if the grading works out, that's great. I'm sure it's an extra little stream of income for them while they have it. But if you don't have somebody, they were struggling even with Tyler at the helm to keep up and to keep everything going. I expect to be a complete and total shit show in terms of subs that are out there right now, in terms of subs, in terms of everything. I think what the most logical thing to happen would be, them to say, we're going to stop taking submissions. Mm-hmm. We are going to finish the ones that, are on the books. And once those are all out the door, we're going to be done. Yeah.
This is not this isn't something like if somebody were to make an investment in, like Nat went out and bought Collector's Universe,
right?
Which PSA is part of that. And there's massive value there because there is a very large existing revenue stream.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, there's people that hate PSA, and I get that.
Of course.
There's people that hate every grading company that's out there. There's people that love every grading company that's out there. But there's a massive revenue stream that's already in place there. There's, huge brand recognition.
There's a reason to go after them.
There was a reason to go after it. In this case, I think the negatives on the brand recognition were significantly higher than the positives.
Yep.
And that was their own doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they made some massive mistakes. And I'm not saying that the other, I'm not saying that PSA and Beckett and SGC, don't make mistakes, because they do.
Oh, they all do.
They all do. And it was how the mistakes were handled.
Yes.
It was everything from, putting a grade on fake autographs
mm-hmm.
to grading cards that turned out to be fakes. The accuracy of the grading, I'm not entirely sure was completely there.
Yeah.
And a lot of that didn't necessarily have to do so much with the technology as it did with hiring inexperienced
quality
people.
Control. Yeah. And now these people are running the company.
Yeah. And that's where I think, when because they came around right about the same time that CSG popped open, but CSG did something that HGA did not do. They hired two extraordinarily experienced graders to come in and run their grading departments.
Mm-hmm.
And that made a huge difference. While I personally, I don't grade with CSG,
right?
I don't have any reason to doubt the accuracy of their grading.
Exactly.
And whether or not they are going to put out a card that's not a legit card.
Yep. With
the others, because again, you're talking about starting something from scratch when you really have no experience. I mean, if I had the desire to go out and start a grading company, my first thing to do, look, I understand the business aspect of it. I understand the financial aspect of it.
Right.
But my first thing would be to go and look, all these grading companies are struggling to find graders. My first thing would be to go work for PSA or for Beckett or for SGC and say, hey, teach me how to grade. teaching. And then, I got the basics down. I've got a very high gem rate, with the stuff that I send in, the stuff that I don't. But I would learn that first. And, you can't just start, hey, I'm gonna go start a grading company. And the next thing you know, stuff's not accurate. You're relying too much on technology that's really untested within the industry. You're not getting, then great, it enhances shadows and things like that, but you're not getting the imaging from 30 different angles that you sometimes need to look at a card to determine whether or not you're missing something.
Right.
There's a lot of minute detail and minute flaws that can be found by turning a card sideways, kind of moving it back and forth under different types of lighting. You're not necessarily going to get that even with the best technology.
Right.
So
exactly.
that's kind of the my thought process behind it. But I don't see it lasting. I really don't. No. And I feel bad for the people that went to work there.
Same here. They were promised a lot. They expected a lot. This was, I'm sure they've known for longer than everyone else did. And, but this is a big shakeup that changes a lot of things. And look, Tyler, I hope I hope that he goes on to have a happy life and everything, spend some time with your kids, have a nice retirement. But supposedly he's opening back up his card shop and everything. We'll see how that works and everything. We'll see what's going on. And I wish him the best and all of that. But I'll bring it right back full circle. I think as you look at it now, I think that HGA coming out, he had the intentions of saying he wanted to make the grading industry better and all this stuff. That was something he kept pushing in our initial interview. And I look at it now and you could say that it really muddled it down and made it a lot worse. And I'm going to wrap it up here with a question for you right now. How long before we get a new custom label grading company?
I actually
over under on how many weeks?
Here's the thing. The one positive thing that I will say about HGA is I did like their labels. I thought it was a cool concept. I thought they did a pretty good job with it. But I don't think that they realized how much work it was actually going to be to do custom labels on every single card. I think that a lot of the other people that were either looking into starting a grading company or had an existing grading company that said, hey, I want to, this is something I want to look into. I think they realized after, watching HGA for a year and said, this is a complete and utter pain in the ass. Yeah. And it really doesn't add any additional value. Right. Does it look cool? Sure. Absolutely. I like looking at those slabs. Does it add value? No. In fact, if you want a good example of why we're probably not going to see custom labels back in the industry, look at what CSG just did. Yeah. They changed their label and simplified it. Mm-hmm. So that is, I think that's going to be the way that it's going to wind up going is simple, clean, non-custom. Yes. And that's, so I don't see it at all because I don't see it as a value enhancer.
I hope not, because like I said all the time, I don't care what label it is. If you try and get fancy with it and you try and get all with like the current trends in 5 to 10 years, that trend's going to look like shit. But that we'll wrap up our talk on shit show number 2 right there. But guys, we'll be right back. It's time to pay the bills. And welcome back, everybody, to episode 143. And now, guys, we're going to move on. You know what time it is. It's time for the segment that's taking the nation by storm. Movers and shakers, baby. So, Scott, a lot of stuff going on right now. NBA playoffs starting. A lot of soccer going on. Whole lot of baseball going on. So much stuff going on. So, but who do you have for your mover and shaker this week?
So, guy that I was originally going to use, we talked about earlier in the show, and that was Stephen Kwan. So I'm actually going to do 2 back-to-back because I'm just going to say Stephen Kwan and end it at that because you can rewind and listen to what we had to say about him. I'm gonna roll with Austin Reeves, though.
Okay.
Because, it's an undrafted kid playing for the Lakers, which means that he is not getting a ton of playing time. Well, he's not getting any playing time now because they're done. But to go out there and, neither team was playing their starters. But to go out there and throw up a triple-double,
yeah,
basically to end the season.
Yeah.
Not often that we see an undrafted player put up that kind of performance.
No.
I like the kid. I think he's got a solid future. Hell, it's not often we see second round draft picks putting up,
right,
even a double. But there's something about him I like. We'll see what the future has to hold, whether or not he stays with the Lakers, whether or not he goes somewhere else, but we're not going to see him play until October. But, if there's anything out there, hell, he ended his season on a high note.
Well, that's what I was about to say. He ended his season on a high note. He's young and he's on a Lakers team that's probably going to look a lot different in terms of getting rid of some veterans and focusing more on youth, I think. And so that's if he stays on the Lakers, I think, that obviously helps his value a ton. But also, I think if he moves and goes to another team where he could possibly be needed some more, I think there's going to be a lot of hype around him going into next year.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think because I'm not saying, Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball or Zion or Ja type hype, but I think there's going to be good hype on him to where you can get what you can in the off season, because I think during the run up, obviously, like you said, ending it on a good note, I see nothing but potential there for him.
Well, had he not, here's the thing though, had he not put up that triple double, you probably would have been able to pick up his stuff dirt cheap.
Yes.
But that right there, I think, boosted his values. And he does not have a lot of stuff out there.
No.
And we'll see what happens. Prism, well, obviously the product's already designed. So whether or not he's in there or not, it's, we won't know until it comes out. But, so I guess we'll figure that out in a couple months or,
because
a year or next year.
That's going to be interesting. Well, yeah, that's going to be interesting, though, because undrafted, I'd have to look and see exactly when he signed. But if he didn't sign with a team or anything, or if he was G League and playing like that for a while before eventually playing with the Lakers, if he wasn't on the team the whole year, I was not familiar with him until the 30-point game. He might not be in many products, if any.
Well, it looks like I'm looking at something, and I can't tell if this is legit or if this is a legit card or not.
Because basketball, their rookie class basketball, there's only 64 people drafted, so the basketball class every year is 50 players.
Well, he's got a Panini Instant. It's a Donruss rated rookie design, print run of 2502.
There you go.
And those should be going like crazy. And I really don't see anything really other than Panini Instant.
Yeah, that's what he's. And so I'm going to be curious to see if they're able to rush him out now.
Oh, wait.
I don't know about the lead time. They might be able to update him in Prism and Optic with Chronicles and everything that comes out late in the year, because they can.
It looks like he was in Chronicles draft.
Well, that's what I was about to say. You can do Prism Update, and Optic Update is in the Pro Chronicles that comes out later, which is where you might see a lot of his rookies appear.
Yeah, but it looks like there is at least an autograph.
So there's a couple things to chase out there, at least right now, until some more products may or may not have him in there. But it does look like he's going to have a very limited amount of rookies. It does not look like he's going to have a massive set of rookies.
Yeah, Immaculate Collegiate, he's in that. And somebody got a steal on an auto out of 49 for $80 back in January.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. So, no, I like that pick. I think that's a great pick for movers and shakers. But for my pick this week, man, I'm going away from basketball, going overseas, and I'm going to soccer, man. As you know, and as everyone knows, super heavy on soccer right now. But I've got to go with my man, my boy. He's on the wall every single week. I've been a fan of his for a long time, and I knew that it was coming. I just didn't know when, but it looks like it's coming right now, and that's German soccer player Kai Havertz. This kid is a beast. The dude is an absolute monster. He's getting a ton of hype right now for one of the most disgusting moves. The highlight was absolutely absurd. Pulled off one of the hardest moves to do in soccer twice in a row within the span of about 3 seconds on 2 different people. And it was just phenomenal. But they're literally talking about Kai Havertz now being the leader of Chelsea. Yes, they are talking about as him becoming one of the leaders of that team in the locker room and on the field. You've also got Germany, who's going to do good in this year's World Cup. I think Kai Havertz is an absolute steal. Now, his stuff literally overnight, doubled. Most of his stuff doubled and has stayed there. No, like I thought it was going to be a double and then a drop. No, they doubled, and then comps after that have remained at that new level. So he just had a massive bump, but he's still very, very low and affordable. He's got a decent amount of rookies out there in a lot of different sets, but this dude this year, I mean, he's doing everything. He's scoring. I mean, in every single year, he's got 3 matches in the EFL Cup, 2 goals. He had 8 matches in the UEFA Championship League. He's got 3 goals. You look at the Premier League, he had 22 matches, 7 goals, 2 assists. And then in the World Cup, he's had 2 matches. He's already got a goal. So he's a major, major key figure on a German World Cup team that I think is going to go far. And now the newspapers overseas and all the reports coming out are saying that he's going to be one of the leaders of Chelsea. Give me this kid all day long.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a solid pick. You know, it's rare to have a guy play, you know, his club team be as solid, you know, as Chelsea is, and his national team be, you know, be just as solid. Timo Werner, both with Chelsea and Germany as well. So, you know, these guys, they play every day together.
Exactly.
And it's rare to see that as well, where you've got 2 of the national team guys also playing on the club level together. So they get a chance to, you know, have that better chemistry. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I have not seen that highlight you talked about, but if it's better than Pulisic's 3rd goal.
No, it's not a goal. It's dribbling. It's his footwork.
I understand that, but the footwork and the ball work. You know, when Pulisic had the hat trick against, I think was it Mexico?
Yes, it was incredible. The last one was nuts.
The first 2 were PKs. That's not a big deal. But the 3rd one,
better footwork, I'll say, than Pulisic. I'll say it right now. Yes,
okay,
it's incredible. And you got to watch. There's 2 different clips. There's a short one where you just see him do the 2 moves, and then there's a longer one where you see the setup and the after. You need to watch the longer one so you see the full effect of what it is. But it's absolutely nuts. The kid,
maybe something because you know Pulisic's with Chelsea as well.
Yeah.
For his club team. So like maybe these guys are just trying to one up each other. I mean, who knows?
I think so. But I love Kai Havertz. It looks like the hobby community's finally starting to, but that is definitely my mover and shaker this week. I expect massive things out of this kid. All right,
let's keep it with soccer. Let's keep going. Let's keep it with soccer.
I was about to say, well, before we wrap up the show, we're going to keep it with soccer. We do have one more thing we want to touch on, guys. And so for 40 years now, Panini, of course, everyone knows, has been associated with UEFA, with soccer, with stickers, with everything. I mean, we were just talking on the show a couple of weeks ago about how at least Panini can hang their head on having that UEFA license and everything. That's something great to have.
Yeah.
No. Reversal. Fanatics swooping in yet again, and this one was a shocker as Fanatics is taking the UEFA rights from Panini and will be the official sticker makers and trading card makers.
Was it really a shocker if you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the sticker part, yes.
The sticker part, I agree, but you know, Fanatics is really kind of slowly buying. Well, not even really slowly. They're doing it at a quick pace. You know, a couple weeks ago, we talked about them taking the WWE license back, you know, in a couple of years. You know, now they're taking UEFA. It's, you know, Panini still has Premier League. They still have La Liga. They still have, you know, Serie A. Mm-hmm. And it's only a matter of time now that the UEFA license is in the hands of, or will be in the hands of Fanatics under the Topps brand.
Yeah.
I think it's only a matter of time before those other licenses fall as well. And I guess the real question is, at what point will Fanatics, because I think Fanatics purchasing Panini is coming.
I was about to say the writing's on the wall here.
I've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Every license that Fanatics is able to take back or take away from Panini decreases their value and will allow them to just swoop in and buy up the entire company for a much cheaper price.
And dude, you want to talk about getting the company for a much cheaper price? If you're taking the whole company too, Panini's bread and butter wasn't cards; it was stickers. Yep. You just took their biggest revenue stream that they've had for 40 years, that built that company and that made them move into cards. Like, if it was not for that stickers and not for those deals, Panini would not be a company. We would not have Prism, Optichrome, and all this stuff. It wouldn't exist.
Correct.
To take that away from Panini, I mean, that's chopping the head off. I mean, that's taking the biggest part of Panini away from them.
I'm curious to see what Topps has done stickers before. I think, didn't they do an NHL sticker product?
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got the ability to manufacture that, obviously, or at least relationships with the printers that that can do it. And it's probably knowing the way the industry works, it's probably the same freaking printer that Panini uses to do their stickers too.
I'd almost get it's GCI or Cardamundi. So. Yeah,
and it's one of those things where it's like the printers don't care who owns the licenses because there's only one place you can go to get it done anyway.
Exactly.
So they've got the experience with it. That was the biggest shock, was the sticker. Cards are card. I mean, it's a different animal.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because I prefer the Topps Chrome products to like the Panini Prism stuff. I like what they've done with Champions League and with Bundesliga. Over the years, I like what they've done with Formula One. I think and even in sports, the big four sports, here in the US, I've always liked the Topps Chrome products over, the Chromium products that, Panini has done, the Prism and Mosaic and, and all those. But we really didn't have a choice, in, basketball and football and things like that for the last getting close to 10 years already. Yeah. You believe that? That's a little crazy. Not quite, but we're getting there. I'm excited to see UEFA popping into the Topps brand again.
Yeah, so. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be fun. My only hope is that with the flagship releases, now that Topps is acquiring all of these different brands, please make the flagship design releases of the different, like basketball and baseball and football, when you have all these brands, make them different, because if they all have the same design, you're going to have collector fatigue in 2 months. Like, you can't put out 58 different products with the same design, which, is what they've been doing a lot. They had that one little alternate design this year, but every single other flagship of every product was that same design. And you've got to get away with that. You've got to differentiate yourself to that. I mean, they get stagnant on some of their stuff is what frustrates me. And I think there's no better example of that than when you see Prism WWE coming out. Prism comes out right now. WWE market in terms of cards had been stagnant for a long time. At least Topps cards had been stagnant. Old school stuff blowing up like crazy. And then you see Prism come out blowing up like crazy. They'd become completely stagnant, and then this comes and injects life into it. So my only hope is gathering up all these brands doesn't turn into every single sport looking the exact same. Like, there's got to be some changes. There's got to be some variations set up to it. But I am excited to see him with the UEFA license. But if there's any writing on the wall that Panini's either going to sell or completely change and do something else, I think this right here, the sticker aspect of everything, tells me that, okay, major moves are coming. Panini is not going to be a massive separate entity anymore.
No, and they can't be, because that, and we didn't really see it as much in the United States when it comes to stickers, but worldwide, their sticker business is absolutely, it dwarfs what we see, from a card standpoint here in the US. without the UEFA sticker license, I don't see them being able to, to continue to make it as a company. But what I am excited about though is from a card standpoint, and especially with Fanatics and, through the Topps brand having a lot of these sports again, I'd like to see a crossing over of some of the previous card designs. Like I would love to see a basketball product using the 87 Topps baseball design.
There you go.
And they've done some things like that in the past. When Topps had basketball before. I remember there were some 84 Topps baseball design basketball cards that were out there. I think there were inserts, or it was archives or something like that. But I would love to see like a complete set, using that, kind of rehashing some of those old designs. And they did it with MLS Chrome with those 75 Topps inserts that they put in there. They used the 75 Topps baseball design, as a Chrome insert. And those were some of my favorite cards to come out of that product. So I'd like to see more of it.
No, I think that's a great idea. That would actually be a cool crossover that I'd like to see. So we'll see what happens. But one thing's for sure, Topps really chopped the head off with this move. Fanatics, whoever you want to call them. This was a major blow, and it could be the final it could be the first domino that knocks all of them down. I think this could be where you really start to see things change, but we'll have to wait and find out. One thing's for sure, guys, we will be updating you on all of this as it unfolds, as the world turns, as they say. But guys, that's gonna do it for episode 143 of Let Me Get That Potograph. Once again, I'd like to thank our awesome sponsors, Vintage Breaks, Card Ladder, Vanity Slabs, and Card Crusade. Could not do the show without you guys. Make sure to check out Hobby Hotline every Tuesday and Saturday. I was on this past Tuesday, and we also have up the video version of the Live at the Collectible show with Tim from Slab Strong and Corey from Show Your Slabs. That's currently up on the YouTube and all the socials, and we'll also have the audio version of that episode up this week as well. So you'll have 2 episodes of Let Me Get That Potograph coming out this week for you. But the Mick Collectible show will be up this week as well. But Scott, another awesome show, man. Crazy week.
I know. Let's see. I don't even want to make a prediction as to what's going to happen next week.
Yeah. Well, last time we told people to sue everybody, and then shit went crazy. So we'll just say have a good week. But until next week, guys, you know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hits. We'll talk to you then. Peace.